Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 11 a.m. I'm going to start the briefing. Let me know if you can't hear anything. This is Larry Brown doing the briefing again today. After a quiet pattern last week with dry weather, it looks like we have a little more active pattern this week. I can kind of see on the slide here, this is kind of showing the pattern for tomorrow. There's some rain right now in North Carolina that's going to start to move up into the area. And you can see with the low pressure off the coast and high pressure over Canada, we're going to have a strong pressure gradient going, especially tonight into tomorrow. And as we do that, you're going to see that we have a lot of wind coming along the coast. So we do have a wind advisory that we've just issued earlier last night for Virginia Beach and Currituck County for sustained winds 25 to 35, gusts up to 50 along the immediate coast, especially Virginia Beach, oceanfront, and around the North Carolina Outer Banks. Inland, we're going to see winds in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range, Hampton Roads, and then more like 20 to 30 well inland along I-95 corridor. High surf advisory. So a lot of marine issues going to occur this week. You see we have near shore breaking waves 8 to 11 feet, some minor beach erosion later this week, especially as we get into later tonight through midweek. Kind of look at the pattern here. Today, high pressure north, but then you see that low pressure developing off the coast tomorrow and intensifying. And then as you look at Wednesday, you look at another low pressure system kind of in the Tennessee, mid-Mississippi Valley, and that's going to move east and then intensify over us on Thursday into Friday. So we're looking at a wet pattern through, not raining the whole time, but kind of two bouts of rain, one mostly tonight into tomorrow, then another one kind of late Wednesday into Thursday, and then drying out for the weekend, although it'll be breezy and cool. So looking at rain totals, this is through Thursday morning. You kind of see higher amounts to the south overall. As you look at the precipitation table, you see not much of a chance for rain until late today. And then as we go into tonight, into tomorrow, we're mostly, especially across the south, looking at the heavier amounts, maybe upwards of 2 inches of rain possible across far southern Virginia, northeast North Carolina, through into Thursday morning. A little lesser amounts to the north, especially across the eastern shore. So you kind of see here, looking at the first bout, this first one is just through Wednesday afternoon. You see not a whole lot except in the far south. But then as you look at the second half of the week to the right, you kind of see the heavier amounts are actually more to the north. So when you look at it, the whole pattern, the whole week into really through the weekend, you can see generally pretty active with these two coastal systems, 1 to 3 inches of rain on average through the week. Locally, higher amounts are possible. While this, the rain is expected this week, flash flooding threat is minimal because, one, we're dry, and also we're looking at this over an extended period of time. We're not looking at, 3-5 inches of rain or anything in thunderstorms. It's just like a long period of rain. And with the dry conditions that we were in, it's, for the most part, this is looking like beneficial rain. So the maximum wind gusts, this is through Thursday. You kind of see the much higher amounts along the coast, especially on the, southeast Virginia over to the, Accomack County and, down in northeast North Carolina. Kind of seeing the table here highlighting the highest winds with that first system tomorrow. You see late tonight into tomorrow, Corolla, Virginia Beach, gusts 40 to 50, and then obviously less as you go inland, but pretty breezy day even all the way to into the Piedmont tomorrow. Just a general summary for the week. You can kind of see temperatures pretty cool, especially tomorrow with that rain and lower clouds. So maybe warming up a little bit as we get the second system moving further north of us. So temperatures will be a little warmer as we get into the late week, and then it cools back down for the weekend. Low temperatures pretty mild with all the clouds. Not looking at any frost potential this week. And then as we get into the weekend, still enough wind that we're not looking at any additional frost or anything like that really through the period. And the precipitation, you can see it cuts off, kind of these two bouts Tuesday, and then again like late Wednesday night into Thursday, and then it dries out for the weekend. Just to mention, Hurricane Melissa, very strong Cat 5 storm, obviously, across Jamaica, but thankfully the pattern's just going to keep it offshore, all that troughiness over us. it's going to steer it off, keep it off the coast. So no issues locally for us. The tidal flooding, you can see not much of a threat through tonight, but as we get into tomorrow night, you can see some pretty widespread minor tidal flooding across the bay, lower James, some localized moderate flooding possible, Lynn Haven, Smithfield, up to Jamestown as we get into the high tide cycle later tomorrow. Then as we get later in the week, it's a little more uncertain, but with that surface low pressure system moving a little further north, we're looking at a better potential further up in the, maybe up in the mid to upper bay, the bay side of the eastern shore up there, and probably a little less of a threat further south, especially as you go into Thursday with that low, the wind's turning more to the south or southeast. Just looking at some of the hydrographs here, you kind of see this is the upper bay. You kind of see not really much of a threat until you get to Wednesday night into Thursday. Same thing here, more the mid to upper bay. However, as you go, Sewell's Point and down the lower bay, you can kind of see the biggest threat is actually probably the one tomorrow. And then there's a little more uncertainty, but still the potential for some extended periods of minor flooding at least. I can see as you go up the James River, maybe a little bit localized moderate flooding possible with that tide later tomorrow, and again into maybe Wednesday. Although uncertainty a little higher as you go further out. Northeast North Carolina and down along the coast, you can kind of see pretty good. The biggest threat will probably be the tides tomorrow. Further north, Ocean City potentially it's higher on Wednesday. So the marine hazard is pretty active this week. As we said, we have a gale warning in effect for basically the lower bay, lower James, and all of the coastal waters in Currituck Sound. Small crafts as you get further up the bay and in the upper rivers. We are looking at pretty strong gale conditions with sustained winds as we get into late tonight into tomorrow. Probably a period where we actually might get some sustained gale, around 35 knots, sustained gusting to 45 knots. So the seas are going to rapidly build, pretty low today to 10 to 12 feet with occasional wave heights of 18 feet plus, highest generally in the lower, the Southern Ocean south of Cape Charles. So the gale warning is in effect starting late tonight and lasting into Wednesday morning. You can kind of see the probabilities here looking at, pretty high chances for getting at least small craft 25 knot gusts, but you can see the high probability again for gale force gusts as you're looking at the lower bay, Currituck Sound and all the ocean, and then even a little bit of a low probability, but a little chance late morning into early evening tomorrow, especially in the Southern Ocean waters. There's maybe 10 to less than 40% chance of getting a few gusts to 48 knots plus. Well, they're not expected to be widespread and long-lived though. Just looking at the threat potential again, kind of rehashing. See Tuesday, kind of peaking Tuesday night, especially the southern coast, and then kind of diminishing as we get further, but remaining elevated as we go into the weekend. And then we'll probably have beyond that even strong west-northwest winds as we go into Saturday. So you can see here the wind gusts, remaining elevated but peaking, especially tomorrow, kind of early morning tomorrow through tomorrow evening, especially in the southern areas, and then remaining elevated but not quite as strong as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. And as we go in, you can see that the winds are shifting, going northeast and then kind of shifting more to the south or southeast as we get into Thursday, and then more of a west and then west-northwest as we get into the next weekend. This is just highlighting a period of, potential in the purple there, maybe about a 10% chance of seeing some gale force gusts, some storm force gusts, as we get into, that period. This is the pilot area, but you can see that would be, kind of peaking tomorrow, during the day tomorrow, as we see, and, pretty high, decent chance for 43 knot gusts, so pretty strong gales. As far as the wave height, you can see it's, kind of peaking with that high surf advisory. You see off chest light and off duck, in that 10 to 12, 13 foot range tomorrow into early Wednesday, and then remaining elevated after that. And then the highest significant wave height and then the highest occasional wave height, you can see that, 18 feet plus as we get into tomorrow in the occasional wave heights. And just looking quickly here at the Hansen plots, you can see with the wind direction on the bottom graph, and then the wave height, you can see the very quickly in that middle graph going, really ramping up as we get into tomorrow, going from, just a few feet as far as one wave, and then the blue is the other one. So basically building to that 12 to 13 foot period as we height as we get into late tomorrow. So that's all I have. If you have any questions about rainfall or any of the other hazards, let me know.